Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Two Horses Podcast, part of the Two Horses Podcast Network. You realize you've made the correct podcast decision as your neck muscles relax, your lower back loosens, and all your troubles float out your domicile's kitchen exhaust system. Now, please join me in saying hey to your host for this evening's Two Horses Podcast, Two Horses!
Hey, everybody!
Hey to you!
Oh, hey to you, too!
Hey to you!
Hey to you!
Welcome.
Hell, hey to everybody as far as I'm concerned.
Well, they all deserve that hey. They worked really hard to help keep our podcast on the air and going for 200 episodes now.
We sure do appreciate that. We can't thank y'all enough.
If I could go out and give every one of them a big bale of hay for them to munch on, I would. I'd go do it. I'd get a buggy strapped up to me, and I'd take it around, and I'd give everybody some hay, the people that listen to us.
Well, good for them. We can't thank you enough. Who thought we'd be here doing this, 200 times now? Good Lord.
I had hopes for it, but I didn't know that it'd go this far.
That's a lot of talking right now for a horse.
It sure is.
That's probably the most any two talking horses that I know have
together and
did, one of these, talk that much,
You know what we ought to have done at the beginning of this is talk to some of those people that do the world's records.
I never thought about that.
We ought to have done that at the beginning of this. We just talked to some of the Guinness Book of World Records people and said,
I'm going to say right now, I'm going to go on record saying that more than likely this here has got to be some kind of record. A talking horse talking on the computer for over 200 hours. I'm going to say that we deserve something.
Well, who would we talk to get whatever we have coming to us?
Don't know the first thing about it. Don't know who writes that book or I would not know.
They say it's Guinness's Book of World Records. Does that mean that there's a Guinness? Mr. Guinness or a Mrs. Guinness?
There's probably the family, They look in the phone book, I reckon. I don't know.
Nowadays, it could be a Mrs. Guinness, like his wife.
Well, he's probably getting, I'm going to say right now, if you wrote that book, you're getting hounded all the time, so I'm going to guess it's an unlisted number. And even if it was listed, it's not going to say so-and-so Guinness, creator of the Guinness, writer of the Guinness World.
It'd just be a Paul or a Sam.
Yeah, whatever.
Or a Mrs. Guinness. Or
whatever their name is,
Did you ever get to take a bite out of a phone book?
Take a bite out of one?
Yeah, like you find one and someone threw it out of their car and it landed in your pasture, or just a sack of garbage wound up in your pasture and there was a phone book in there and you could just take a bite out of one.
Well, I'll be honest. I always wanted to because the colors looked
appetizing.
Yellow, bright. It says
like an apple.
Yeah, or some apples red. Some apples green.
You like a red apple.
Red's my particular favorite. Just call me standard classic apple eating horse. That's me. Because I love the red apples. Speaking of which, that's my sponsor for today. On our 200th episode, let me fill all of you in on our sponsor, and it's apples. Delicious, sweet, crunchy, and, red, yellow, or green, any of those. So, at our sponsor, Delicious Apples, go get you one. I love them. Some people say that they're just for a snack, but I eat them for a meal, too.
So, that's apples. Sponsor of the day. I've got a sponsor that I think you're really going to enjoy. Horse number one.
Look forward to hearing it. Yep.
My sponsor today, Two Horses Podcast, is brought to you by Squarespace. Everybody needs a website, in this day and age, and you don't want to get on the computer and pull up a website for something that you're looking forward to learning more about or ordering a product from, and the website is disappointing, and you just leave with a bitter taste in your mouth. You want a good website to make people leave with a good taste in their mouths.
Yep.
And Squarespace is the product you need.
As good a taste as apples?
Well, I wouldn't say that good of a taste.
That's the best taste I know of. And they're, like I said, they're crunchy, delicious. I'd eat them all day if they let me.
If I had a sponsor that said, and the taste in your mouth is going to be as good as an apple, I'd say, well, no, sir, I can't plug your product because I don't believe what you said is truthful.
Yeah.
So I'd say maybe come back to rewrite the copy, give me a little room to ad lib, and then. But the talking points, I think, should be truthful from the get-go. And I can't say that I've used Squarespace. I've never built a website as a talking horse. I don't have any need for that. But I have heard from some listeners who said it works out pretty well. So that's Squarespace.
Squarespace.
And if you sign up today, use promo code 2 horses.
Yep. Your promo code.
Promo code. That's going to get you some money off. If it doesn't work at first, just keep putting it in there.
Okay, 2 horses.
2 horses.
That's the name of our...
I guess if it doesn't work, just write to their Squarespaces. They've probably got some help people on there. There's a website.
There's all kinds of help to be found on a computer. I know that. I may not get on it that much.
Just start asking people, why isn't this promo code working?
Yep. Squarespace.
Squarespace.
Well, I tell you what,
that's how you get a website going these days. That's our sponsor.
Don't have a need for one myself, but there's plenty of people out there that has computers, that's for sure. So,
well, it's the going thing these days.
We sure do. Thank you for being our sponsors, Squarespace Apples, on our 200th Two Horse podcast. I'm humbled every time I say it.
200 episodes.
Yep.
Not a lot of horses out there have done anything 200 times, and here we come up doing a podcast.
I don't think a horse can race 200 times. They, put you, so to speak, out to pasture. That's...
I don't want to get on my soapbox again, but you know how I feel about that.
I know, but probably they'd try it if you let them, but, people make those decisions, and so be it. I don't know anything about the racing world personally. I know some people who've done it, and I've heard some terrible things,
Oh, I know. Don't get me wound up about it, but I say, God put horses here for people to use however they see fit, and if they want to keep us racing until our joints pop out and get all out of whack and our legs break, whatever it is, I just feel that the good Lord put us here for people to use, and people are know what they need and what they want, and if that's racing, then so be it. Well, ride us, races.
If you want to ride us in a race, or if you want to,
ride us into town looking pretty, whatever you want to do. That's how I feel about it. I don't mean to go too far here, putting my own personal opinions. I guess it's a podcast, and you can do whatever you want.
I think as horses, I think we're entitled to, I think we have a position that should be expressed on this particular, like I said now, I'm not against racing. I've just heard from horses that have raced that are, let's just say, enthusiastic about it, as, I would be doing it for whatever human asked me to.
Sometimes, horses get all, after they stop racing, they get on that dope, and then they don't know what they're saying. Some of those ones that say, racing is bad, and it hurts me, and it really broke my leg or whatever, and then I just don't know if you can believe those guys.
It's a shame. I know some of them you just can't trust, because, usually a racing horse is braggart this, and I did that, and I'm this and that, I'm that fast, and I've got this kind of ribbon or that ribbon. But, they got to tell their war stories, I guess. That's, how do you get attention to yourself? You think you'd get plenty just running fast enough, but then you got to go running your mouth after. Now, this, of course, just implies to talking race horses. I'm not quite sure what a regular, let's just say a non or regular, as some people would say, race horse, if they complain, probably not.
People think as a talking horse you can understand regular horses, but you can't.
No.
I can only understand human beings.
I understand that. I've seen a horse do just about some of the dumbest things I've ever seen, and don't make any sense to me.
And you go up to them and you say, "What are you doing?" And they just whinny and snort and go on and carry on and disgraceful.
Trot off, gallop away, just, attitude as far as I'm
bathroom,
concerned.
they right there and
right in front of you. Right in front of you. Now,
they want. I don't understand it. I can't hear them. I hear the noises they make, but it's not talking to me. That's not what I think of as talking. So they can, they got their way of expressing themselves, I guess, if you want to call it that, and I got mine. So I've got 200 episodes of a podcast down in the books. So you tell me who's doing better, I guess.
Yep. You can snort and whinny all you want over that if 200. Just can't believe it. Really, again, I just want to thank all the listeners.
We want to thank Peter in coming in here every week and engineering it and getting us sounding good as we can sound.
Yep. I don't know the first thing about wires and cord, and I appreciate him coming in here. And I say, if there's anything I can do, just trying to be helpful. But he said, nope, just talk for me. That's all you got to do is just get on here and talk.
Yeah, first time we come in here, we seen all them wires and cords. We thought, was that breakfast? He said, no.
It'd hurt you if you took about any of this.
Get an electric shock.
Yeah. So we appreciate the help. We need it. Lord knows.
Thanks for coming in here every 200 times.
Well, I don't know if everybody listened to all 200 times. Some people may come just heard 100. Some people probably come just heard it one time. I'm sure there's plenty of people that get on here and say, oh, that's a bunch of bull. Them horses ain't really talking.
Well, you don't know. You're not here.
They're not here to see. Nope.
Everybody's got an opinion on something, and I'm no different, and neither are they, I guess.
Yeah. You're entitled to think what you want. All I know is I'm a horse, and sounds like I'm talking to me.
Well, me too.
Yeah.
And the good Lord above, too.
Yeah.
He made you this way.
He made me this way. For whatever reasons, it's not for me to decide, It's the good Lord did that, and I'll do the best of what I can with it. And I think I've put it, without giving myself too much of,
No, I think a podcast is the best thing for a
that's
talking
what
horse.
I thought, God give you a voice for a reason. Let everybody hear it. That's how I feel. Yep.
And that's how you do it, is a podcast. People said, well, should you be like, talking horses? When talking horses first started coming out, and people said, put them in a museum, put them up in the zoo, put them in the White House or wherever. So
get them on TV.
Get everybody, them on TV.
Everybody's the first thing. Well, get him on TV. That's been done. I've seen talking horses on TV.
You don't want to go backwards. You want to go forwards. That's something new, like a podcast.
And I don't understand all the wires and computers. I know we'll talk on here, and y'all will hear it and say, thank you for talking to us, horse. And I'll tell you right back, thank you for listening. 200 times.
200 episodes.
200. Yep.
Just want another sponsor, MeUndies.
What?
People need a lot of underwear, I guess, is what human beings wear, a lot of underwear, and they put them on, and they want to feel good, and MeUndies is probably the best feeling underwear from what I understand. They tried to put some on me once, but they had to
put underwear on you.
They made up a big, that was when you were out sick for those 3 weeks.
The only thing I've ever had human, clothes, a hat, somebody put a hat, get a picture or something, and I don't mind.
Well, that's what I thought they were going to do, but they went, they tried to make a pair of horse-sized underwear and put them on me, but it didn't turn out, and we did a special episode. That was when you were out and Peter was filling in.
Oh, yeah,
Thanks, Peter, for doing that. Not as good. 2 talking horses is better than a person and one talking horse.
Either way,
That's not as good.
But I'm glad that he
Peter
stepped in at the last minute. God bless him. Come in and help out.
He tried to get those underwears on me, and it just couldn't fit everything in there, and couldn't get them above my over my legs and my hooves.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to put anything on your hooves?
Like I said, outside of just horseshoes getting, put on there, that process. But other than that, just a hat, not a shoe. No.
It's really hard to put underwear on a horse.
Well, I would think so. I'd never seen a horse underwear made for a horse or a horse wearing underwear made for it. Never seen it.
So go on to MeUndies. Promo code is 2 horses. Just keep putting that in there, and it'll take eventually, and you'll get so much money off of your underwear. And MeUndies, most comfortable underwear you can put on.
Well, I got another great sponsor I'd like to share with everybody on our 200th episode. Happy to have them. Carrots. Delicious. Carrots. Crunchy. Good taste. Not as sweet as an apple.
Different.
But good in a different way.
Well, now, if the good Lord wanted us to eat the same thing every day, everything would be an apple.
Yep. Or everything would be a carrot.
Right.
Or hay.
Or it could be hay.
Yeah, one of those. But
he made 3 different things for us to eat.
He thought fit to give, horses an option. We're not fancy going to the restaurant and seeing what's on the menu. Any of those
won't let us in.
Nope.
Even though we could read a menu. Talking horses that can read.
Absolutely.
People leave that part out a lot.
Yep.
And we could order off a menu because we can talk.
That's very true. The main reason
we could eat a food off a plate, whatever you put on there, a carrot or an apple or some hay. All
of these.
We can't pay.
Restaurants, all of these, grocery stores or any kind of shopping, let's say a Walmart or Target, they're just not made for horses. It's difficult to get in there and move around in any kind of comfortable fashion. And when we're uncomfortable, it makes the other customers uncomfortable. And it's probably, things are the way they are for the reason they are. And it's not for me to question. So I'm not allowed to go in, and I'm not going to go in.
No, if people don't want us in there, that's fine. They know what they're doing. They know what's best for their establishment. I mean, we can do a lot of the things that it is required of. We can walk up and down aisles, and I can knock things over or whatever they do. They take a shopping cart and push that around. I can do that with my head.
I can do that. Yep.
I can open up a freezer door and get some ice cream out and knock that to the floor, or kick in a glass door of a freezer unit. I can do all those things that people do. But for some reason, they just don't want to let me in there, and that's fine. It's a person's world, and I'm just a talking horse that can read, has a podcast, and I'm lucky to have gotten to episode 200.
Grateful for what we have, but don't wish for no more,
If we had a wallet, maybe if we had somebody put a wallet or a billfold.
Something around the neck, just hanging.
Sometimes I'm liable to somebody stuffed a bag full of paper money around my neck. I might take a bite out of some of that. So who knows? It's probably for the best. I guess I don't know what I'm doing half the time. When I get hungry, I start eating money, apparently.
Now, this is something that people assume, and I want to make this clear right now. Not all talking horses can read, but certainly most, I would say, if not most, all talking horses can count. So don't think anybody's going to get in your wallet, pouch, or whatever you want to call it, and, saying they're taking this much, thinking a horse. I can see. I know how to count.
Also, a lot of horses that can't read or speak can count.
That's very true. That's kind of the one thing you can count on a horse, again, no pun intended, to do. And a horse can either already count or be taught to count at least up to, the 20s, in that area.
And simple math, simple addition or subtraction a lot of times.
Yeah.
But not every time. If I were a human and Lord knows, the good God above made me a horse, and that's the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
And that's the way it is. And humans, as far as I'm concerned, are in charge. They're running the show, so I'm not trying to rock the boat. But if I were a human and I could buy and sell horses, and I got a horse that couldn't count or do simple arithmetic, I'd say take this one back and put it in the glue factory or wherever you put them down. Carve it up for meat, because it's not doing me any good. It's dumb as a rock. Well, it's a horse that can't even do simple math, simple counting, stomping its foot or whatever sort of.
Again, horses are pretty, as far as counting is concerned, it's a given.
Yeah, so if you get one that can't do that, something's
there's
wrong with it.
Yeah, that's like I said, I've seen the horses do a lot of dumb things, but I've never seen a horse not. If I see a horse not counting,
they're either trying to put on a show for you, trying to act. He who can't tell me what to do, you so and so, and
attitude,
giving you an attitude, or they just something's wrong. Their brain is all messed up in there.
Something's wrong.
Just refusing to work upstairs.
Yep. So either one of those is not anything you want to have around in your barn. You need to just send them on their way.
Bulldozer and push it into the pit, I've seen happen so many times.
I've seen that happen a time or two.
Push it right into the pit.
You didn't see me, wailing or shedding any tears for, a horse that can't count. He's on his way.
Nope, I'm not the man in charge. My name's not on the sign out front of the farm or the show. It's the horse. It doesn't say old Flyskins farm. It says Mr. Person.
Yep.
So he's the one that signs the checks and gives me the hay and the apples and the carrots.
That's all I need.
That's all I need to get by, if you ask me. So I'm happy just to be here doing 200 episodes. Can't tell you how many times I thought, we'll never make it. And then here we are today. So we just showed the power of perseverance and never counting yourself out.
You stick to something and not give up. You're bound to get better and better. And I hope that's what we've done for our loyal listeners. I would not want to hear the first 20 or 30 of these things. That's if somebody says you want to hear a talking horse, do not play that for them, please.
We didn't know what we were doing.
I didn't have a clue. And all I'm saying is, I know where to sit and where to talk in the thing.
We didn't even know where to do that at first.
No, sure.
I kept trying to eat the cover off the microphone.
I tried to eat it. It almost bit in some of them wires. Yep.
I thought, is this a black apple?
Yep.
A black apple. I've never seen such a thing. And I took a bite out of it, and it was. They said, "Oh no, now we've got to get another this and that and whatever." And
hard on the teeth.
It didn't taste good to me.
Nope.
I'm like, well, I'll never eat another black apple again.
Nope.
I can tell you. And they're like, well, it wasn't to begin with.
Yep. Also, if you see a apple could be rotten,
That's why.
has gone
just
bad. It not so much be a microphone, but that has been known to happen. But
something
usually
wrong with it.
Those you can smell from a distance. So like, well, that apple's gone
something.
bad. Yeah, fungus, anything like that. That'll turn the color on an apple. Many a time I've seen that. That's one of my least favorite things to see. You get a little bushel of apples hidden away somewhere. Just I want to stretch these out. I want these. Don't want to just do it all at one time. And Lord knows I'd be happy doing that. But just if you had a little apple, a little bite of apple every other day or every week or however you want to figure it, however many's in that bushel that you come across, and if you let them sit too long, they'll just. Oh, and that breaks a talking horse's heart. Bad apples.
You're nothing worse to look at, if you ask me, is a bad. We should have really done more about. We were going to give you that spin-off podcast where you just talked about apples all the time.
I wouldn't mind it.
But then we thought, well, what would we talk about on here?
Yep.
But horse number one on apples would have been a good. Maybe one day we'll shut this down and we'll just give you that podcast.
Oh, now don't
horse
say.
Horse number one talks about apples.
I'd be awful lonesome sitting there by myself talking about apples.
Yeah, we'll get Peter. We'll pull Peter in, and he'll sit there and he'll go out to the store and get you some apples and say, "Well, what's this kind?"
Well, sure, I'd be happy to do that, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that would like to listen to that.
Sure.
this is 200 times. I know how to do this. I know how to sit beside you.
Well,
I know
that's true.
what I need to say, and I know I like what you're going to say, and that's just, that's what you call a partnership as far as I'm concerned. A good partnership between two talking horses. And I don't say, forgive me if I'm gloating a little bit, but, by golly, it's a 200th episode. I'm going to, I don't think that there's another two talking horses to talk together as well as we do. And if there are, somebody name them to me. I'd like to know who they are.
Well, I'd like for them to have a podcast.
Well,
We'll
they should.
Peter. We'll
They
send
should.
Peter over there. We've got the Two Horses Podcast Network. We're always looking for more horses to host a podcast.
Well, you can only get so many in the, the space. Again, indoors
Sure, we
ain't a
wouldn't
place.
want to have four horses. This is sort of a...
This is cramped as it is right here. This is difficult, and making sure you don't, get an itch or kick or, scratch. You just gotta, you kind of have to, your environment is what you make of it, is how I look at it. It's how, and right now, I'd be honest, if I weren't talking, probably be very uncomfortable.
But doing the podcast takes your mind
knowing
off
that
of
people are
a
listening.
lot of discomfort.
I don't mind I can be uncomfortable for an hour if it makes people happy to do it.
You come in here sick. I have too. Sick as hell.
But now that one time I was bad off. That was scaring Peter, bless his heart. He come around and stepped in. But
what was that? In there, you'd gotten something stuck up in you, and it had become infected, and the whole side of you
got worse and worse. I was shrunk in on one side, just like something in a vacuum inside of you, just sucking on one side in. The other side looked fine, but the bad side, here's an infection, is what they said.
Animals get a lot of diseases that people don't even know. If people knew what was going on inside of a lot of animals at that time.
Oh, it's awful. I've seen things. I've seen animals die probably just about every way an animal can die on a farm. Living on a farm and seeing it, you'd be surprised,
Well, a lot of friends.
Oh, friends have gone. Lost a few over the years, absolutely.
You work on a farm long enough with somebody, they kind of become your friend.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't say some of them were my closest friends, but farm life is not for somebody who's, close my eyes, here's some blood or some feces. It's for people who can open their eyes and look at all that stuff and so much more.
Nature's not always a pretty thing to see.
Never, hardly ever.
Yeah, pretty much never.
Well, people think about nature and they go, well, I saw a rainbow today, or, I saw the fall palette on the trees. Well, did you see the entrails of those animals that got eaten up by a coyote or by a mountain lion under them trees?
Yep. I'll never forget that calf I saw come out stillborn. Just the worst thing I've ever seen. Awful.
Well, that's nature for you.
That is.
I don't mean to tell people that don't live out in the middle of it. They don't know. Even the farmer doesn't know. If you get really down on the ground with the animals, you got to roll around and get down to see some of the awful things that we've seen. But so I don't blame people for not. And who would want to see some of these
Nobody
things?
wants to see
they
it.
put on their rose-colored glasses and they see, look at the beautiful flowers. I love nature. Well, what died to make those flowers bloom?
Something.
What blood soaked down into the soil to make that flower grow up? Well, you don't want to know.
It all starts somewhere, and most of the time it starts at a farm. It does.
The beginning and the end.
Yep, all right there. And I'm ready. When that time comes, I'll be ready. I'm not, don't mean to sound as if I'm bitter or sad. When my time comes, my time comes.
Well, you don't have much choice of it.
Nope.
When the good Lord and the man that comes up behind you with the stun gun and the little...
Before you know it,
it's
gone.
Gonna happen.
Yep.
It's going to happen, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Nothing we can do.
I mean, I guess if you wanted to, you could kick and scream and whinny and thrash
That's just. Is that how you want to be remembered?
I mean,
Is that just the kicking? And that's how, I'll be honest, that's how most of the animals go here, screaming and the kicking or whatever. But think about it. Now I understand a lot of those animals don't have the gift of speech.
No, most of them don't.
And that's just how they got to do it. But to me, I'd have a little bit of dignity whether I could form a sentence or not. Just, get yourself together, realize this is it, and just, let the fear go. Yeah.
You gotta let the fear go. Let it go.
Let it go.
When the man comes down and the man said, well, the good Lord above told me to do this, and I'm a human being, so that puts you third on the totem pole.
This is my lot in life right here, yep. You won't ever hear me complaining.
And they could, because you can complain in the English language.
Well, absolutely I could if I wanted to, but I figure.
And Mandarin.
With Mandarin.
How many languages do you speak now?
I haven't quite mastered Mandarin quite yet. I'm working on it, and I wish you hadn't said anything on here because I don't want.
Well,
now
maybe for episode 300.
Well, by then I may be ready. Lord willing, I'm around for that long.
So what you're saying is you can't speak a sentence of Mandarin for us right now, or 200th episode.
I'm not comfortable. I'm learning how to begin,
okay.
and I know.
Well, I shouldn't have put you on the spot like that. I thought I was just proud of you, and I thought, well, maybe.
Well, I appreciate you should be, and I'm be proud of somebody who's trying to learn, whether they have mastered it yet or not.
I mean, because you never know when the man's going to come up behind
when it's
you
time to go. And I'd like to be able to say, a few words in Mandarin before that time is here. So just let me just bone up on it a bit, and I'll be back on here, and I'll do my best.
About a couple of years.
I bet you there.
Years. If we keep on the weekly schedule, and we'll be at episode 300 in about 100 weeks, which is about how many weeks in a year?
I can count, but not. There's a cutoff point from counting. Counting and also math are two different things. They're the same and then they're not. But if you just count from one to go up, to however high you can get, that's one thing. But then you say subtract that by this or do a fraction, and you lose me there, and I'll be honest.
Aren't that great with fractions, but you can do 6 from 4 is what, and then
sure,
that's what a horse should be able to do.
That's what, if you can't do that again, I hope the man does come up and get behind you, because that's about all you're good for is, filling that ditch. Learn to count.
We got a little. Oh, the 200th episode seems like we went down kind of a darker road than usual.
Well,
usually it's a celebration of life.
It is.
And this week here we are talking about, when the man comes round and put a thing in the back of our head to put us down and put us in the ditch and this and that. And I guess 200th episode, anniversaries, birthdays, you start thinking about your own mortality. I guess that's what's sort of happening.
That's what it is. Sure. Imagine, you could either go or suddenly, this is a nightmare I've had plenty of times, and I'll be honest, waking up one morning and not being able to talk anymore. And I don't know what it is. I've asked some people. I don't know. I'd back to winning, I suppose, or snorting or whatever it is to get. I can count. Don't I'm not going to lose that. But I don't know what I'd do. I certainly wouldn't be worth a darn doing this.
Well, what if you called somebody and told them what had happened to you? You got someone to dial the phone for you, like get Peter and have him call you?
I wouldn't be able to tell him. How can a horse best convey that he no longer has,
That's true.
It is gone in the night. Now, I don't anticipate that happening. I think that's some sort of a psychological thing bouncing around in this old walnut-sized head brain I got. But so be it. It happens from time to time. And I try to wake up and shake it off. And the first thing I do, of course, when I wake up is, started talking just as quick as I can. And thank the Lord, Still got my voice.
That is something to be thankful for. I can't imagine. I guess what I'd try to maybe get Peter to come over and dictate a letter to him and have him take it to a veterinarian or something.
Well, how would you dictate it to him if you didn't have a voice? See, that's what I'm saying. If you can't talk, you can't talk. How's he going to know what to write down?
This is a
I didn't mean to now for you to start having nightmares.
I can't even imagine how I would. There's nothing you could do. If a person couldn't talk, they could get on their computer or write a letter or what is the thing, the iPhone or whatever.
Stephen Hawking can't say a word. He's got that computer
thing. They built a machine for him. One person goes.
How would anyone know to build a machine for a horse like that? No one would know. You couldn't tell them.
They can't even put a pair of underwear on me. I don't see how they'd put a talking wheelchair up on me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they'd say, well, let's start with the underwear and then we'll get the talking wheelchair going. Well, maybe I got something to say before you get that underwear on me. But don't worry yourself to death over this. Here's
this
problem.
Is my nightmare. Don't need to, you start having it too.
Well,
then both of us going to be a mess.
It's just terrifying if you think about it.
It is.
I don't know what you would. There's no answer.
There's no answer
because
for
no
that.
one expects a horse to talk in the first place.
Sure.
So even if you could write them a letter and say, "Well, I'm a talking horse," they'd say, "Yeah, right." They wouldn't believe you in the first place.
Wait, I think I got it. Morse code.
With your hoof.
With your hoof right there. Now, I don't know Morse code. I'm learning. I'm trying Mandarin. And I'm
takes
learning.
Up a lot of your time.
That does, but as soon as I get, at least.
Getting down to the community college every Tuesday night, that's no easy task.
It is not. I got to get down there, and then, of course, I got to get back, and I try to go over what I learned in my head on the way back.
And thanks again to Peter for putting him in the trailer and hauling him down there every Tuesday night.
I appreciate it.
I don't know what we do with some of this stuff without Peter.
I wouldn't be able to do any of this, I
guess if we could tell Peter, another thing, aside from the Morse code, we could just tell Peter, if you ever come by one day and we can't talk, let everybody know the world's greatest veterinarians or whoever built that talking wheelchair for Stephen Hawking, get them over here and start looking down our throats because something's gone wrong, or in our minds because it could just be psychological.
Now, I thought that too, but now let's say Peter was in a bad car accident on the way over here, and then somebody else had to come take care of us and didn't know. Let's say they never heard this podcast. They didn't know that we were talking horses. There's just no way we could convey that we once had the gift of speech to a stranger. It's just not. There's no escaping that reality. I'm sorry.
There's talking horses.
Well, sure.
But we've seen this time and time again, people trying to run that scam of, my horse is a talking horse too.
Yep.
And people say, well, what's he got to say? And they'll have him say, well, right now he's going to go like.
Yeah, that's
not a word.
That's not a word.
Trying to run that scam. There's not enough talk. Let's just get the facts out here. There's not enough talking horses as to where it's commonplace.
No, but there are some out there.
But
I have met a few. Yes,
it's not, stop the presses. There's talking horses. We're just sort of in that limbo.
Yep.
Where if something happened to our speech, it just seems like it'd be
not enough people.
If we were the only talking horses, then everybody would be. The president would get woke up by a phone call and say, "What?
The horse quit talking."
What?
Yep.
Get the Russians on the phone. They're behind this, probably.
Yep.
Or if there were 1 million talking horses, I guess you'd just go down to the clinic and they'd say, well, I've seen this before.
That'd be the end of it.
So many of them. Take this pill here. We got it developed for you. And but we're just in that no man's land of, well, there's some and there's not too many and I don't know what to do
it's
for
just
you.
Just hovering in this kind of, just
you say,
limbo, as you say. Just not enough people are aware.
Well, I don't believe that these two horses talk. But I do believe that they're talking horses because I seen one on Phil Donahue or whatever.
Oh, I've seen them on TV. That's where
you've seen them on. We've had a couple of conversations. We did a phoner with that talking horse from Wisconsin, and he was a great.
He was nice to have. I will say it was pleasant company discussing things with him, but that was the first sign when I thought of you don't need, first off, there's no room to have, but, 3 is too many talking horses for most listeners. I'm going to say it right now, and I think we've found the good limit right here.
You have 2 horses, and then if you have another guest, then maybe sometime you're going to want to talk to somebody like we talked to that weatherman from Seattle.
Yep.
And we talked to the weatherman from where was it, Corpus Christi or somewhere down there?
Somewhere down there. I can't remember the
Gulf Coast. Talking to weathermen is always interesting because horses are interested in weather and people are interested in weather. So we said, well, that first one worked. That first weatherman we talked to worked.
And different weathermen have different opinions, and they do. It's not all going to say the same,
Oh.
They may have some of the same predictions, but not, they have different ways of saying it. Otherwise, you just have one weatherman.
And it helps us to talk to weathermen in different parts of the country, too, because they have different weather there. And we said, well, what's it like down there? We talked to that one weatherman from Tulsa, and we talked to that one weatherman from Oklahoma City, and it was like talking to the same person twice.
Well, remember that character from Alden, Kansas?
Mm-hmm.
He was quite the character.
He was probably our best one.
Certainly the most enthusiastic concerning weather.
We should have asked him back on here. This would have been a great, for a 200th episode, maybe we should have done something a little more spectacular.
It would have been nice having him on here,
That would have been actually a good idea, just have some of your old favorite guests on here again.
Yep.
How do you think the weather is in Alden, Kansas right
I
now?
wouldn't know. Wouldn't know the first thing about it. That's
Peter,
what weatherman's for.
Is it's too late to it's probably too late. It's too late to get him on the phone.
Oh, on this one, yeah. 300, there we go. It's going to be speaking Mandarin as best I can.
Kansas weatherman. That's a good
he'll be
episode.
back.
Well,
He'll be
folks,
back.
Don't go anywhere. I can't tell you that you have to listen to the next 100 episodes, but I'd say if you're going to be busy, but you can make the time in a couple of years around this time, probably a month or two, a couple months before this, in 2 years. So I'd say that's going to be 2018, probably June 2018.
Again, the numbers you get when you start getting high to,
the horses don't get high.
No, when the numbers, the higher
the numbers.
I don't accuse me
Well,
of
some
that.
of those painkillers that those old racing horses get on, they get.
I wouldn't take one. No,
and I was
sir.
in that hippie parade once, and it was just naked buttocks on your back and pot smoke everywhere, and I wouldn't do it again.
Breathe it in. Don't have much of a choice in that situation.
I don't care how many apples they give me. And then some of those apples, have you ever seen some of those hippie people smoke a joint out of an apple?
That's another thing. It's either if an apple goes rotten or it's got that stuff carved in it or whatever you want to call it.
Well, I wouldn't have that again. And I don't mean to talk ill of people, but it's the hippie people that think, well, I'm too lazy to get a job, but I'll ride a horse into town and see if I can get me some more of these joint apples. Well,
yep.
Those are about the only people I don't have any use for.
Yep. Them and horses that can't count.
Those two kinds of God's creatures, I wish he just never made them.
He saw fit to do it. I'm not going to complain, but let's just put it this way, if I woke up tomorrow and first off had my voice still, and every hippie and non-counting horse had up and vanished, you wouldn't hear no complaining out of me.
No, sir.
Nope.
I'd probably get on here and go, well, everything seems a little better today, a little brighter.
Yep.
The sun's shining brighter out there in the world.
Feel good.
Felt good on my back.
Yep.
My horse back. Well, we got a little news here if you want to get to the news section.
Let's do the news. All right.
Two Horses podcast with horse number one and Fly Skin. I'm Fly Skin. This is
I'm horse number one.
Horse number one.
Yep.
Well, first top story in the news is Labor Day weekend is over.
It's gone. Yep.
Summertime, I guess, is officially over.
It's over with. Yep.
Might as well be, if not, and close up the pool and put on your long pants and.
Yep. It's going to
Guess
cool
that's it.
down. I
Gonna
look
cool
forward to.
down.
I like the fall.
Cool weather.
Winter can get a little rough if they, if Peter. Sometimes there's been a few winters where he didn't turn the space heater on, to where it should be or whatever. It wasn't his fault. He's busy. He's got to set up all these microphones. Sometimes he doesn't know how to leave the heaters on, and it gets cold, and my joints get to hurting me. But other than that, I like a good fall and winter. Look forward to it.
He made that list, and he put it right by the door, and it says in big red letters, "Don't forget the heater," and that seemed to help, and
Yep.
we tell him every time we get a chance, don't forget the heater.
That only happened a couple times. That's
but
all.
you can't just let it go. You gotta
Horses get cold.
stay on them, or they'll think, well, a horse is a hardy animal. They don't need a heat. Well, we do.
Well, need it turned on.
So Labor Day weekend is over. That's news story number 1, and number 2, we've got Donald Trump is up in the polls.
Well, can't believe it. The first they're saying he's down in the polls, and then the next day
they say Hillary Clinton is up in the polls, and now they're saying Trump is is up in the polls, and Hillary Clinton is down in the polls.
I just do not know what to make of this presidential election.
It's
Let
crazy.
me say
I've
right
never
now.
seen anything like it.
First off, full disclosure, we as a talking horse it is not lawful for us to vote. So let us make that clear.
It's a good thing that we can't vote. I don't know. These are people concerns, and if I got in there, thinking, well, I guess I know a lot about this. I'm a talking horse, and I don't know my place, and I got in there and started casting votes, and who knows what I'd do. Destroy their system. They've been working on this a long time, and I guess they know a lot better than I do. So I say, don't give me the right to vote.
Now, I'm not getting in anybody's face and telling them this or telling them that, but if someone comes up to me, and I figure since I have the God gift of speech, that if he wants my opinion, I will share it with him. I wouldn't say I'm an opinionated talking horse, but if you want to know where I stand on a particular issue and I fully understand said issue, I will give you my 2 cents. I don't mind it. But not going to talk about the election, because if my opinion mattered, I guess I'd be able to have the vote.
Somebody would have asked us by now.
Somebody would ask you, and also your opinion matters for some reason. While I'm asking you, you might as well be able to vote. But until that day comes, or if it never comes, I'll be fine. I'll get through it.
And finally, we have here last news story is Merkel vows to stay on course, according to the New York Times, despite a party setback. Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, hails from the state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern.
Where?
And yet the Christian Democrats, Merkel's party, saw a major defeat on her home turf. She finished third. 19% of the vote in state elections in her home state on Sunday. And the center-right party is her party. And it was outflanked on the right by Alternative for Germany, an anti-migrant party that took second place and 21% of the vote. So Angela Merkel's party come in third place in state elections, and it's said to be a rebuke of her refugee policy. That's according to a 538.com article quoting a New York Times article called "Merkel Votes to Stay on Course Despite Party Setback." So that's a lot of interesting things happening overseas.
Fascinating world we live in.
Hard to keep track of everything. You never know. You turn around and it's something new, and somebody got a new story about this or that.
Sure.
And, I don't know what to. You tell me this, and I'll say, well, that sounds great, and I'm glad to hear it. And you tell me that, and I'll say, well, that's awful news, and I'm sorry you had to go through it. But if it's news and politics, I'm just a horse, so you don't want to listen to me too much.
Well, again, I just want to say, I'm not quite sure why someone would have this. I'm going to say it right now. Emails. Look into it if you haven't yet. And now that's all the opinion I'm going to give. I'm not telling you which way you should vote. I'd never tell anybody that you should vote this way or that way. Vote, your conscience. I know some people don't like that, but so be it. But let me say again, emails. Also, sick. And I know sick.
Well, I remember that time.
I lived through it, and once you've been there, you can look a human or another creature in the eye and see that sickness in there, even if you don't see it all at once. I can look into somebody's, and it's coming. Let me say now, things may be A-OK right now, but pretty soon.
Well, I don't see how you can watch the news and come away with any. Again, I don't want to overstep my.
Sure.
But I mean, what you're saying is, I don't see how anybody watches the news and comes away with any different opinion than what you're strongly hinting at.
Well, it's not hint. These ain't. These are facts. Just look into it.
I mean, Peter pretty much keeps it on Fox News in here. So
well, sure,
that's
but
pretty much all
and
we
they're.
see, but
Today's been an awful day to look at it,
Oh,
but
it's always awful.
No, not always. There's a few things you learn here and there. It's not just
the news is always awful, if you ask me.
Cast that broad a net over something. There's good stuff in the news and there's bad stuff in the news.
Well, I wish they'd focus a little more on the good stuff.
I could use it. Wouldn't mind in the least. But
they never have a news reporter down at the hospital saying, well, look at all these babies that were born today. But they'll get one down there and say, well, there was an explosion, and let's get a good shot inside of somebody's hole that got blown into them.
Sure. That's what makes the news. They got to be talking about something. And, another baby, which I think is beautiful. I think it's God's gift, the birth and
another human being. If you ask me, is always worth talking about.
Absolutely, but that don't get what they call ratings on those TVs.
I guess not.
No, sir. If you want to stay in business, you gotta keep those tragedies a coming. It's a shame. Yep. Well, 200
episodes.
I'll be darned.
Here we did it. I got in here today, and you talked about your nightmare of not being able to talk, and I said, well, what if we get in here, us two horses, and we start talking, and we're like, well, I don't even know what two horses would talk about for an hour. But we pulled it off, I think. I think it was exciting from beginning to end.
Yeah, well, we did our best, and all I can hope is that you enjoyed what you heard. And
if you want to go back and listen to some of our older episodes, like the ones with the weathermen on them, or
sure.
I wouldn't listen to that one where we talked to that horse from Wisconsin. It wasn't
that, and again, it was just
Peter. We should take that one down if you get a chance to just if you can erase things off of.
We don't know how all that works, but I just assume nobody needs
to hear that.
Because I'll be honest. You think, another talking
Three
horse.
Horses.
Right. But I think he'd give talking horses a bad name, but that's just me.
He was tired or something.
Well,
asleep probably on that dope.
If you have this planned, schedule it out. Just be awake, for goodness sake.
Set your alarm a little early.
That puts out there that, talking horses are just, don't care,
they don't
or tired,
care about
or
their listeners.
Yeah, and there's nothing we care about more than all of our listeners. And thank you for
200 episodes. So grateful.
You want to thank that fellow that does all the what you call it, Wikipedias and all that has all that.
Go look up the Two Horses Podcast Wikipedia. It's got all the hot soup episodes.
I remember
about that when we were trying all those soups.
Burnt my lips.
Apple soup and carrot soup, hay soup.
I'd give
I
it
guess
to me
my favorite
cold.
was hay soup.
Hay soup was anything real hot. I'm not crazy about it.
No, because the horse puts his lip right up in there, gets way in there with his lip when it.
And we can't sip on things. You got to get in there and get it.
You feel around with your lip and see, is this hot or cold? Well, the first thing that's going to find out is your lip, the horse lip.
Yep.
So listen to all those. Thanks to everybody that has been listening and doing our Wikipedia and Peter, of course.
Oh, yeah, couldn't do it without him.
And everybody who gets on there and gives us reviews and ratings on all the things you can do that on. That really
we
helps
sure
us out
appreciate
so
that.
much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Really, well, this is, if we're going to thank anybody, it's just everybody out there who listened to us and never gave up. Never gave up.
Nope, didn't do it. Bless your hearts.
Thank you so much. From two horses.
Well, I'm horse number one. Horse number one.
And I'm Flyskin.
See you later.